Hello, and welcome to this webinar about managed risk and secure flows in industrializing project logistic management. Today, focusing on data, control, and transparency. Anders, please tell us more about why we are here today.
Well, this is one of three areas typically coming back to us from customers wanting to understand more, dive into it, and grasp the benefits. So we thought, why not have this as one of three main themes for this webinar series.
Great. So before we start, let's do a quick presentation of us. Anders, what is your role in Myloc?
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm the director of Myloc Construction, been developing and working with this for more than 10 years now, actually. I have a background from business management and project management in general, but we've been heavily involved now and invested in developing the concept for project and construction management.
Great. And Magnus, what is your role at Myloc?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Magnus Rydberg, and I am the product manager for Myloc Construction. I have a background in working with the supply chain in manufacturing industry, and I also have some extensive experience in having implemented ERP system and connection to other systems. But for the last 10 years, I've been working focused on supply chain and logistics for construction industry. And in addition to being the product manager, I'm also work as a project manager and consultants in logistics in our bigger projects. And we are also joined today by you, Johanna. Please tell me a little about you also. Johanna will be our moderator and help us to moderate this webinar.
Yes, so except that, I am also a little bit of the outsider perspective, and I have a broad background in supply chain management, leading both logistic operations and projects for more than 15 years. And I spent many years managing supply chains in challenging conditions. And today you find me at Sweco, one of Europe's leading engineer consultancies. So before we start properly, I will keep track on the chat for questions that I'll either pop up during the session or we will take them at the end. So feel free to ask questions throughout and we will collect them at the end. So Anders, tell us a bit more about today's session.
Yes. Well, so the background is we have come to a point now where we're feeling we are going to expand the market we are addressing. We want to tell the market more about who we are and what we do. And we have 3 webinars. This is number 2. And altogether, I think they gives anyone working with the big project and the issues around that a better understanding and a holistic understanding also what we're doing and what kind of benefits we are bringing to the market. So today, the focus is on data control transparency. What does it really mean? And we will try to guide you through that in this short webinar to take you, hopefully, to a new level of understanding and seeing the benefits of this.
Great. I see that we have a few new in today that didn't join our webinar last week. Can you give us a quick recap on what Myloc Construction is so that we all start on the same page?
Yeah, a good idea. All right. So it is what we're talking about is a fully digitalized platform for, well, as that can act as a control tower component for big projects. And the scope is around logistic resource management. It also adds supply chain management, access control to a project site, and everything about warehousing and terminal utilization. And we can work with this on the different levels, on the top program level, down to the individual contractor and operation. And in the same platform, there is also the user interface and the facilities for operations with planning, functionality, reporting deviation, and the logistics, of course, and different kind of feedbacks to the operation also, how they are performing and where things are, etc. So this is the overall scope, and let's have this as a background to this webinar as well.
Great. So you're talking a lot about the digitalization, and I find it's quite a hype word. And I am working with digital tools all the time, but I guess it doesn't make me digital just because I'm stuck behind a computer every day. So could you elaborate around this to make me understand the concept?
Yes. So I would say what you're talking about is probably what you're computerized. You're using digital tools to address things. But basically, you're often, I believe, working with digital documents, which is something completely different to data. They may contain data, but it's not data. So, and what's typical for business and operations that work more with the digital document rather than data is that they're often intuition-driven, difficult to utilize data, and there is no much available. Which also leaves, so there is less focus on metrics, and it's more, Fingerspitzengefühl. It's more about the feeling, and there is a risk of personal bias also, given the background and the data you do have access to. So what we are trying to help this business and operations is going in the direction of being more data-driven, more fact-based.
Fact-based, that's nice.
Yes, fact-based is nice, and so we're doing that by bringing a tool that automatically collects data and all transactions and the things that are happening around the logistics in a big project, and then we can automatically provide performance metrics. We will talk more about this, and we also have built the fundament for working with continuous improvement, not only between different projects but also within a big project. We have many examples of how we can improve during operation using metrics, using the data we have. So I would say this is the difference, and we are kind of helping the industry and the business taking a step to the right here, where we have the individual competence on the vertical axis and organizational competence on the horizontal axis. And what we are trying to do is bringing more organizational competence, sharing data, so enables skill, the individual skill, but enhancing organizational capabilities, you could say.
Okay, I think I understand it a bit better. Not only what this is, but also the benefits of doing this transformation. And as you heard, I liked the fact-driven or the fact-based, because also like the data-driven decision-making. I think that's something, when you're in logistics, you often have to take a lot of decisions, and maybe they are not always correctly prioritized due to the lack of fact. So Anders, where does the data come from? Because I guess it's an immense amount of data in these kind of huge projects that Myloc is working with.
Yes. Well, basically, what we're trying to do is, on one side, eliminate the use of, to the maximum extent, eliminate the use of the documents. So instead of having spreadsheets that is sent around with emails or SMS or text messages or even telephone calls, replace that with apps or web portals where you can work directly, and all the data is always available for everyone who has access to it in real time. Okay. So when you're working with planning, ordering, or reporting things, don't do it in a manual or in a document computerized way. Do it with a data-driven way. But it also is about bringing in data from more and more integration, where this project are becoming more and more parts of big ecosystems. And we need to be a part of those ecosystems to enable our customers and users to benefit from other digital implementations and capabilities they have invested in.
All right, so you mean that I don't have to sit and enter all the data manually? It's all integrated?
I would say it's a combination. But for instance, if there is another system, we can easily integrate with it, and we will talk more about that shortly. But it's also about reporting something. Instead of you putting it on a paper or on an Excel sheet, just push a button in an app and it's done. And then so you have both to work with it on a semi-manual level, I could say, and integrated way.
Okay. It looks like Magnus would like to say something as well. Could you want to chip in on this one as well?
Yes, please. Thank you. As Anders said, we really want to be a part of a bigger ecosystem. So today we put a lot of focus on integration opportunities or integration capabilities in Myloc. So we constantly develop Myloc and add new possibilities to integrate with the system. And I'll give you some example of the integration. That we can integrate with suppliers or contractors' ERP system. For example, we can get the order information from or receive it from the ERP system. So we have a complete order information in our system, mirroring of the order information in SAP or another ERP system. We can also get the information when it comes to the delivery. So Myloc can receive a complete delivery notification containing what is about information about the shipment. So we know exactly how many packages there will be, the weight of these, the length, and so on of it. So we have this information when we import when we shall receive it at the project. We also do the goods reception in our system, and there we can integrate and tell back to the supplier what information about the received goods. For example, if there have been any deviations and so on the goods, we can report that back to the ERP system, to the supplier's ERP system, and so on.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that was one example.
You have more examples. I love examples. Great,
Yeah.
continue.
Yes. Today, we see that many projects uses BIM models to describe their construction. As you know, some of you maybe, the BIM model consists of a number of BIM objects that describe really the type of material or component that's to be used in the construction. Since Myloc can keep track of respective material status, Myloc can send it back to the BIM model, so material status can be displayed in the BIM model with data from Myloc. So Myloc can keep track of where in the flow the BIM object is and report that back to the BIM model. There is also a lot of talk about GTIN numbers in the construction industry, and a GTIN numbers is really to identify what type of material was used in the construction. GTIN stands for Global Trade Item Number, I believe, and it can be used by a company to identify all of its trade items. So since Myloc can get the information from the supplier about what GTIN number he or she has sent, then we can report that GTIN information back to the BIM model. So the BIM model knows exactly what GTIN number that is in place in the construction.
Okay.
Another example of integration is with automatic gates. We have done that in some of our projects, and that's automatic gates with all LPR cameras, license plate recognition cameras.
Okay.
And since Myloc has all information about all the transports that will come to the project, Myloc can provide the automatic gate system with vehicle information and when and so the vehicle should come to the project. It's planned slot time, so to say. And the gate system then can automatically read registrations number on the vehicle and compare it with the information from Myloc. So if the vehicle and time match from the information on Myloc, then the gate can be opened automatically and the vehicle can drive into the project. So that's another example of integration from Myloc.
So Myloc is actually also collecting data. That sounds promising. And I think Anders indicated before that digitalization actually could improve capabilities. Could you give some examples on that?
Mm-hmm. Since Anders talked about it, that the system is a cloud-based system, and really the cloud-based that means that share information in the whole chain is easily done. So all collaborators work in the same system and both give information and get information from the system. So that's really benefits to share information when we work in the same platform in the same system. Another thing is that we have automatic notifications. For example, when the order or the material has arrived, the responsible get an information about now is your material arrived at the project and so on.
Okay.
We also have alerts, automatically alerts, so you don't have to look what order is or shipment is delayed. The system itself send an alert if the shipments should be delayed in somehow.
I love alerts.
Yeah. Yeah, and you also have automatically limitations really in the system. So the system check if the resource is available, the resource, for example, unloading zone, crane, checkpoint, gate, and so on. And if it's not available, then the system tells you that you have to book it in another time or something. So and as we talked about earlier, the system also keep track of the material status. So where in the supply chain my material is. Is it still with the supplier, or is it on the project, or is it maybe on the way to the project? So, and as I think Anders talked about that also a little, the process in Myloc is what we believe is the best practice, how to work with the logistics in a construction project. So the following this process in Myloc is simplified, really. So you can say that really Myloc helps you to work in the right way. That is most benefit. Yeah.
Sounds nice. I with the Pareto 80-20, I always think, you know, you in supply or in logistic, you want to be able to kind of reverse that so that you can spend 80% of your time to proactively fix problems and act on these alerts. So without the alerts and without certain KPIs and so on, the risk is that, you know, you won't have time to proactively work with it, and you end up firefighting, which I guess a lot of people recognize. So improved digitalization actually enables a new kind of improved resource sourcing. It's yeah, I find it quite impressive. But I would also like to come back to the theme of this control, Anders. I need you to help me to zoom out and look at this from a management perspective.
Okay, I think we prepared also it's a
you want to talk about
slide.
Something else as well? Sorry.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah.
I think we prepared also. It's interesting to see many project sites are crowded with different kind of logistic resources, forklifts, telescope loaders, lifts, whatever. And more often than not, the individual contractors bring their own. And the site is already limited in size and space, and it gets crowded, and there are congestions risks. And we working in a digital fashion, gives an opportunity to the project to instead use pools or resources, because it's very easy to share the cost among the different users, track who's using it, and enable actually to reduce the number of resources on site without degrading or limiting the access to resources, because they're only placed for so many. So I would say this thing alone, more than well, I think, is a payoff for using this kind of a digital solution, and it's really a spin-off rather than the core ambition.
Okay.
So high resource utilization and efficiency and simplify the cost sharing is just another example. But you asked me to zoom out a little bit.
Yes.
and I will try to do that also. So control is everything is accumulated. So we have with whether it's about material transport, access, and so on, logistic resources, everything, every registration, every plan, every order, every report is registered. So we have the history and the transaction, what happened, who did it, when did they do it. We see what's ongoing right now, today and tomorrow, and we can look at the plans and see what's coming next week or next month. And that gives us an opportunity to act beforehand, learn from history, and act beforehand. And all this information is in the system itself. But more and more often, utilization of data, you want to be able to elaborate more, to make analysis, benchmark. And we are providing something we call Myloc Intelligence, which is a customer unique database where we extract from the big cloud service the customer unique data, and you can either access it through a portal in the system, or if you export it to your own customer internal business intelligence database. And the thing is, you have an immense opportunities to control and manage the project's logistics in a very overall way, and break down into the smallest details.
So immense control in immense projects.
Yes. That was a good summary.
Do you have some examples?
Yes, I do. And to your surprise. And anyway, I kind of try to make a drawing of the supply chain, and looking at if I'm at a control tower situation and I want to see how things going in for instance, we have a consolidation center. This is just a few small examples. So you could dive into that and look, for instance, at the inventory turnover rate. Is that according to our plans, or perhaps material have a longer lead time in inventory than expected, or not? In that case, who? We can see the deliveries, shuttle cars going from a consolidation center. How many packages are there on each one of them? Is the enough? Are we happy with the the performance of the planning of this, for instance? So we can dive into this easily. Looking at one other example, I will give you. We have a checkpoint. So we could see, for instance, what is the performance? I mean, how is the difference between we are expecting delivery arrival at 10 o'clock, but it's more than I don't know, we could say it's more than an hour off. In that case, it's a miss, otherwise it's a hit. And we can follow the quality of delivery precision, and we can of course drill down and break down to individual suppliers or contractors. Also, we can compare and benchmark different contractors and say who is living up to the commitments and what we've scheduled, and who are not. As you can see, I redacted this. All the data is from real-time projects, actually. So this is just another example. And finally, I did prepare for looking at resource utilization, as we just mentioned. And that you could, for instance, have a KPI, see how many packages do we deliver per hour and resource. And that could be a metric that perhaps should be in a certain interval. Otherwise, you have too many or too few resources on site. An excellent management tool to work with alongside during a project. Also, there could be deviations depending on category and codes. I mean, it could be transport damages to packages or whatever. And you can follow these trends online at any abstraction level you want, detailed down to the day or hour and up to months or weeks or whatever. So there are so many possibilities actually, and it's close to only imagination that sets the limits.
Then I can actually start with one of the questions that I think suits here, and of course you're welcome to write more questions. Even if we are on 5 minutes, I'm sure we could get a couple of more questions in. So talking about all these possibilities, immense control, and what are your experience with implementing this in a project where the digital maturity isn't so high among the users? Is it possible to utilize all these possibilities?
It is, and we have learned over all these projects and the last years that the not so mature users are often a lot more mature than you think, even if they not used to be as mature in their workspace. They have digital banking, they are gaming, they are working with all kinds of apps. So when you actually implement the method of working with the digital tool, either in the web portal or the app, we have realized that the threshold is really, really low. And it's all about following up, feedbacking continuously, and then you will have it running. And I would say the proof of the simplicity is that there is thousands of users actually, and we have only met a small fragment of them. The rest are trained by colleagues or self-learned. So yes, I would say that period of immaturity is, even though some might blame it or have it as a reason for not doing things, it's that threshold has become a lot lower lately.
I have a comment to that also. I agree completely, Anders. But you can also say that since the system are module based, you can start with one module and learn about that, and then go further with other modules as you get matured, so to say, to work with the system. So we have many example of project that for example, I started with the calendar, our booking calendar, and then got through other modules later.
Okay, that's great to hear, because I think quite common is that there is a system in use and the users are not able to fully utilize the system because there is a lack of understanding of process, or there is a lack of understanding of what the system can do, or the compatibilities between. And you are saying that I was just thinking about so you are teaching someone, and then those people are able to teach, and you don't really see this as a problem.
Well, there you have to do the job, but we're working always basically with a trainer concept, as you mentioned, and I think that one clue is that we stress a lot that working with a feedback loop to all the users. How have they performed? What's the quality of their own planning compared to others? And doing that, it provides an incentive to keep working. And I must say that we have we have many examples of users that we heard were rejecting, I will not work with this, digitalized way, afterwards saying, I never want to work in another way,
That's great.
So yes, giving feedback, using the system, the fact that it's digital and there's data, giving feedback to operation is the best incentive for quality.
Great. I will take the last question a little bit within my question. The question is there a lot of work getting started with this in a project, especially with all the implementations? And now I got
Yes.
another one. Time is
Okay.
running.
Well, it's the implementation of the system is simple. It's one-off. We don't. It was years since we were forced to make any modifications. I think we can, with confidence say that we have a system that can be configured to any project of any size and complexity today. So the start of a project could be done in days or so. So it's more about deciding together with the client about the routines and roles. How do they want to have it configured? So there is a process, and that leads us to what we will talk about next Tuesday, actually.
Yeah, I think actually maybe I'll save this one for next one, this question, because it says, because it's a constant flow of subtractors and people changing, and do you recommend the trainers concept during the case as well, when there's a lot of movement? But I think that's a good question to bring into the last session. So a big thank you for today, and we hope to see you then in the upcoming webinar focusing on implementation next Tuesday, September the 19th. And that will be the last one in this webinar series. So I hope the person that asked that will come then. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.